The loudest person in the room is usually not the most powerful. Most people spend their lives trying to be noticed. They talk more, post more, explain more, defend themselves more, and somehow, the harder they try to look important, the less powerful they appear. Then someone walks into the room and barely says anything. People listen, not because they are louder, because they don't need to be. You've probably seen this before. A meeting starts. Everyone is throwing out opinions, interrupting each other, fighting to be heard. One person stays quiet. No rush, no need to prove anything. Then 20 minutes later, they say one sentence, and suddenly, everyone pays attention. It's strange. The person speaking the least often controls the room the most. Most people think power comes from expression. Psychology suggests something different. Power often comes from restraint. Human beings are obsessed with solving uncertainty. When someone constantly explains themselves, you know exactly where they stand. There is nothing left to discover. But when someone speaks less, your brain starts filling in the blanks. You wonder what they're thinking. You wonder what they know. You wonder why they aren't reacting. And the moment curiosity appears, attention follows. Silence creates psychological gravity. People move toward what they don't fully understand. That's why quiet people often seem more influential than they actually are. Not because silence is magic, because uncertainty captures attention. But there's another reason. Most people talk to manage their emotions. They're nervous, so they explain. They're uncomfortable, so they keep speaking. They're afraid of being judged, so they defend themselves before anyone even attacks them. The problem is, every unnecessary explanation quietly reveals insecurity. People can sense it, maybe not consciously, but they feel it. Meanwhile, the quiet person appears different. They don't seem desperate for approval. They don't seem afraid of disagreement. They don't seem rushed to convince anyone. And confidence that doesn't beg for validation always looks stronger than confidence that does. Think about negotiations. The person who speaks first after a price is mentioned often feels pressure. The silence becomes uncomfortable. Most people rush to fill it. They start offering discounts, adding explanations, making concessions. The quiet person simply waits, and suddenly, the balance of power shifts, not because they said something brilliant, because they stayed comfortable, while everyone else became uncomfortable. That's a rare skill, and rare behaviors always attract respect. Here's something even more surprising. Silence doesn't only change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. Every time you resist the urge to immediately react, defend, or explain, you send a message to your own brain. I don't need instant approval. That message matters. Because real confidence isn't believing you're amazing. It's believing you'll be okay, even if people disagree with you. Most people never develop that confidence. They become addicted to reassurance, addicted to being understood, addicted to winning every conversation. The result? They hand control of their emotional state to everyone around them. A single criticism ruins their day. A single comment keeps them awake at night. A single rejection feels like proof they're not enough. Quiet people often escape this trap. Not all quiet people, but the powerful ones do. They understand something most people miss. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every attack deserves your attention. And once you realize that, life starts feeling very different. You stop chasing the last word. You stop trying to convince everyone. You stop performing for people who already made up their minds. The energy you use to spend managing perceptions becomes available for something more important: growth, focus, results. Ironically, that's when people begin respecting you more, because power has a strange paradox. The more desperately you try to display it, the weaker it looks. The less you need to display it, the more others assume it's there. Of course, silence alone isn't power. A silent person can be insecure. A silent person can be afraid. A silent person can be invisible. The difference is intention. Powerful silence is not hiding. It's choosing. Choosing when to speak. Choosing what deserves your energy. Choosing not to react just because someone expects you to. That's what people notice, not the silence itself. The self-control behind it. Because anyone can react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can raise their voice. Very few people can stay calm when emotion is pulling them in another direction. Very few people can remain steady when everyone else is desperate to be heard. That's why quiet people often seem powerful. They remind us of something we rarely see. A person who doesn't need attention to feel important. A person who doesn't need validation to feel valuable. A person who doesn't need to dominate a conversation, to influence it. And in a world where everyone is competing to be heard, the person who is comfortable with silence often becomes impossible to ignore.